Quiet now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind. You're going to dance until your feet fall off. You're not able to stand up any longer. But we're going to have a show.
Welcome to the Pink Door Podcast.
Yes, welcome.
Imagine listing a nearly $2 million luxury mansion on a Thursday, right? And then by Tuesday morning, the ink is already drying on a full price offer.
Yeah, which sounds completely made up.
Right. It sounds like a total hypothetical, but that is the actual mathematical reality of Marshfield right now.
Exactly. It's wild.
So for you, our listener, today's deep dive is a really comprehensive look into the April 2026 real estate market for Marshfield, Massachusetts.
Specifically, we are zooming right in on the 02104 zip code.
Yes, exactly. And we are pulling our insights today from a really dense stack of fresh data to give you, the clearest possible vantage point.
We got the MLS active and sold property reports, and we're layering that with the comprehensive RPR market trends report for April.
Right. And, just for anyone who isn't living and breathing real estate terminology every single day, the MLS, the multiple listing service, is essentially the real-time heartbeat of the market.
Yeah, it's the centralized database that literally every agent uses to track what's for sale right this very second.
Exactly. And then RPR, or Realtor's Property Resource, that's like the analytical brain.
Right. It takes all that raw, real-time MLS data and kind of synthesizes it into these broader market trends.
So we have the heartbeat and the brain of the market sitting right in front of us. Mm-hmm. And spoiler alert, this data reveals exactly how the pivotal spring market is shaping up.
Oh, yeah.
If you thought things might be stabilizing, you might want to buckle up.
Definitely buckle up.
Okay, let's unpack this. Looking at the big picture, the only analogy that really makes sense to me right now is buying tickets to a highly anticipated stadium concert.
Oh, that's a perfect way to put it.
Right.
Yeah.
You're sitting there, you're refreshing your browser, the virtual waiting room opens, and the second you are let in, the best seats are just completely gone.
Oof.
Yeah.
Gone. And the metrics reflect that exact kind of, frankly, velocity and panic.
Yeah, panic is the right word.
Let's anchor this in the RPR market trends data for a second. Right now, the months of inventory for Marshfield sits at a microscopic 1.57.
Wait, 1.57, just so we have context. What is a, normal market supposed to look like?
Right, so a balanced market where neither the buyer nor the seller has a distinct advantage, that requires about 4 to 6 months of inventory to satisfy demand.
Okay, 4 to 6,
Yep.
And we are at 1.57.
Yes. We calculate that by looking at how many homes are currently for sale and dividing that by the number of homes selling each month. So we are at 1.57.
So it's basically a drought.
Precisely. It is a severe drought. Now, strictly speaking, that 1.57 figure is actually a 26.6% increase month over month.
Oh, okay.
But, you might hear that percentage and assume, oh, inventory's recovering.
Sure, 26% sounds like a big jump.
Right. But going from virtually nothing to slightly more than nothing, it still leaves you deep, deep into a seller's market.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There simply is not enough housing stock to absorb the buyer pool. What's fascinating here is the massive month-over-month drop in the median days in RPR.
Which dropped to what exactly?
The median time a property spends on the market plummeted by almost 87%, down to just 6 days.
6 days.
6 days.
I mean, let's really think about the mechanics of how a home actually sells in 6 days, because it fundamentally changes how a buyer has to operate.
It totally changes the game.
Right. You list the home on a Thursday to let the digital marketing hit the internet, right?
The Thursday launch.
Then you hold an open house on Saturday and Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And the listing agent probably sets a deadline of, say, Monday at noon for all offers to be submitted.
Yeah, exactly.
The seller reviews them Monday night, and by Tuesday, you're under contract.
That is the absolute standard operating procedure right now. You just described it perfectly.
Wow.
And at the same time, the median sold price also spiked 13.33% month over month.
Oh, man.
Yeah, landing at a solid $850,000.
So homes are getting significantly more expensive, and the window to actually secure one is shrinking down to a matter of hours.
Basically, yeah.
If you are stepping into the spring market, your window of opportunity is just incredibly narrow.
You have to be ready to pounce.
Yeah. You do not have the luxury of touring a home on Saturday, going out to Sunday brunch to discuss it, and maybe calling your agent on Monday.
No, Absolutely not.
If you wait for the brunch check to arrive, that house is already gone.
It is pending before you even order your mimosa.
Exactly. But, if starter homes or entry-level properties are vaporizing in less than a week, you'd assume the luxury tier would offer a little more breathing room, right?
You would think so.
Because the buyer pool there is mathematically much smaller. Does the upper echelon actually move that fast?
It does.
Really? Because it feels totally counterintuitive to think a $2 million home sells in a single weekend.
I know it does feel counterintuitive. Yet the MLS sold data proves this frenzy is completely universal. It's dragging the entire price spectrum along with it. Let's look at the extremes from the April sales. There were 18 single-family homes sold, and the median days to offer for the whole batch was exactly 6 days.
So the 6-day metric isn't just like an average being skewed by a few cheap, fast-moving houses.
No, not at all.
It's the actual center of gravity for the whole market.
Right, and the individual property data really backs that up. So on the more accessible side, you have a property like 184 King Phillips Path in the Fieldston and Brant Rock area.
Okay.
It's a charming 4-bedroom Cape-style home right near the beach. It sold for $410,000.
Okay, yeah.
And how long did it take? Just 5 days to get an offer.
Okay, but see, beach proximity, an approachable price point for Marshfield. I mean, people really want that coastal lifestyle.
Oh, absolutely.
So that makes total sense. But how does that translate to the top tier?
Well, we are seeing multi-million-dollar new builds moving with the exact same urgency.
Serious.
Yeah. Take 136 Rights Way.
Ugh.
This is a massive, brand new, luxury gambrel Dutch colonial. We are talking 4,500 square feet, hardy shingle siding, European black-framed windows.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a chef's kitchen with Thermador appliances and a curbless shower in this spa-like primary suite.
Sounds amazing.
It was listed for nearly $1.8 million. It sold for over $1.82 million.
Over asking.
Over asking. And days to offer, exactly 6 days.
That is just staggering.
Yes.
Someone walked into an almost $2 million transaction with the exact same speed and really aggression as the person buying the $400,000 beach cape.
Yep.
Why are luxury buyers moving so aggressively? Because usually they want to take their time, negotiate, bring in inspectors.
Well, it comes down to a few factors. High net worth buyers in a market like this are often leveraging immense equity from selling other properties.
Oh, right.
Properties that also move at lightning speed.
Oh, wow.
When they sell their previous home in 3 days for a massive premium, they become highly liquid, highly motivated cash buyers.
They just roll that cash right over.
Exactly. And it wasn't an isolated incident. The neighbor right next door at 126 Wrights Way, another stunning contemporary farmhouse build, sold for $1.9 million.
And let me guess.
Yep. Again, it took 6 days.
That completely shatters the illusion that luxury buyers have all the time in the world.
Totally.
The spring market urgency is absolute. But here is where it gets really interesting to me.
Okay.
If homes from $400,000 to nearly $2 million are all selling in a single weekend, what does that intense competition actually do to the final price tag?
It pushes it up hard.
Right, because if I am one of 5 buyers desperate for that gambrel colonial, I am not just offering the sticker price.
No, you can't.
It makes the list price feel less like a retail price tag at a store and much more like a suggested opening bid at an auction.
The auction analogy is the perfect way to look at it.
Yeah.
The RPR data validates that behavior entirely. The sold to list price percentage currently sits at 101.6%.
Wow.
Yeah, that is up 6.15% from the previous month.
Okay, so what does that mean practically?
It means, on average, practically every home in Marshfield is closing for more than the seller initially asked for.
And we have a pretty powerful case study for this with 142 Revere Street in North Marshfield, right?
Yes, we do. 142 Revere Street is a 2-bedroom property on a really generous lot, over half an acre.
Nice.
The sellers listed it for $699,000. Going by your analogy, that was the opening bid.
Right.
Because of the market pressure, the buyers had to step up significantly to secure it. It ultimately closed at $760,000.
A $61,000 premium just to win the keys.
Yeah, and it went under contract in 15 days.
But let's pause and talk about the mechanism behind that, because I think a lot of people hear $61,000 over asking and wonder how the buyer actually pulls that off.
That's a great question.
Because, if the bank sends out an appraiser and the appraiser says this house is only worth $700,000, the bank is not going to lend you $760,000.
No, they are not. And you are hitting on the core mechanism of how these bidding wars are actually won. Buyers aren't just writing larger numbers on a contract. They are deploying very specific contractual strategies.
Like what?
2 of the most common right now are escalation clauses and appraisal gaps.
Okay, so an escalation clause is basically automated bidding, like on eBay.
Essentially, yes. A buyer submits an offer that says, I will pay your asking price of $699,000, but if someone else bids higher, I will automatically beat their bona fide offer by $2,000, up to a maximum limit of $760,000.
So it keeps them in the game without just blindly overpaying on day one.
Exactly. But the appraisal gap is the real kicker here.
Right, because if I'm the seller of Revere Street and someone offers me $760,000, I'm going to be worried the house won't actually appraise for that much.
Which is why the winning buyer likely included an appraisal gap guarantee.
How does that work?
They write into the contract, if the bank appraises this home lower than my purchase price, I guarantee I will bring the difference in cold, hard cash to the closing table.
Oh, wow. So they just cover the difference out of pocket.
Out of pocket?
Hmm.
That removes all the risk for the seller. It's not just about having the highest price, it's about having the most secure terms.
It's basically structural insurance for the seller's peace of mind.
Precisely.
But surely a seller can't just pick a number out of thin air, right?
Yeah.
Because as much as buyers are willing to bridge these gaps, they aren't foolish. I noticed that massive ranch on Earldor Circle in the data, and it tells a very different story about pricing.
Yeah. 66 Earldor Circle is the ultimate cautionary tale for any seller who looks at a hot market and decides just to abandon reality.
What happened there?
This is a massive, nearly 7,000 square foot ranch with an accessory apartment situated on over an acre. It's a huge property.
Huge.
They originally listed it at $1.399 million,
Okay.
but the market pushed back hard. It sat for 277 days.
277 days. In a market where the median is 6 days.
Yes.
That house must have felt completely invisible to buyers after the first month. There's a psychological stigma that attaches to a house when it sits that long, isn't there?
Oh, the psychology of days on market is brutal.
I bet.
Buyers see a home sitting for 30, 60, or 90 days, and their immediate assumption is that something is structurally wrong.
Right. They think, what's wrong with it?
They assume the foundation is cracked, or the roof needs replacing, or it failed a septic inspection. But usually the only thing wrong with the house is the price.
The price tag.
Yep. After sitting for the better part of a year, the Earldor Circle property finally sold this April for $1.13 million.
So they took a nearly $270,000 haircut off their original asking price
They did.
just because they overshot the runway on the initial listing.
Exactly.
That proves that even in a blazing hot spring market, the market will always correct you.
Always.
If you price it accurately, buyers will fight over it and drive the price up naturally.
And if you overprice it, they will simply scroll past it and wait you out.
Right. So what does this all mean for the actual landscape right now? With everything flying off the shelves in 6 days and usually above the asking price, what is actually left for a buyer walking into the market today?
Not much.
Looking at the snapshot of active listings in this data, it genuinely looks like a typo to me.
I know what you're looking at.
It shows only 2 total properties actively sitting on the market. One is at $849,000. The other is well over $1.5 million.
Yeah.
And the average days on market for those 2 leftover properties is 115 days.
It is quite jarring to look at a snapshot of a town the size of Marshfield and see only 2 active properties.
It's crazy.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, it explains exactly how a high-velocity market functions.
How so?
The active inventory looks like a ghost town of outliers, precisely because the desirable homes don't stay in the active category long enough to be captured in these mid-cycle snapshots.
Oh, they instantly move to the pending category.
Exactly.
So it's an optical illusion.
Very much so.
You open a real estate app to look for houses, you see almost nothing, and you assume nobody in town is selling. But the reality is, plenty of people are selling. The conveyor belt is just moving so fast you can't even see the boxes go by.
The conveyor belt metaphor is spot on. The pipeline is actually flowing quite well.
Okay.
If you look at the new pending listings, the homes that just went under contract, the median list price sits incredibly strong at $824,900.
Nice.
Homes are continuously coming onto the market, but they're being consumed instantly by the demand.
Let's distill the primary lesson here for you, the listener, because knowledge of that application is really just trivia.
Very true.
If you are a buyer right now in Marshfield, looking at this data, you cannot be casual. No, you need a strategy before you even walk through the front door of a showing. You mentioned earlier how important the terms of an offer are. It's not just about the price. It's about how strong your financing is.
Absolutely. To survive on that fast-moving conveyor belt, A buyer needs their financing fully underwritten, not just pre-qualified.
Let's clarify the difference because that's a massive distinction.
It is.
A pre-qualification is basically a lender taking a quick glance at your self-reported income and credit score and saying, sure, you probably qualify.
Right. It carries very little weight in a competitive market.
Yeah.
Fully underwritten means the lender has already verified your tax returns, your bank statements, and your employment history.
You've done the homework.
You have essentially passed the final exam before you've even picked out the house.
Wow.
To a seller, an underwritten buyer is virtually as safe as a cash buyer because the loan is guaranteed.
That makes total sense.
In a multiple offer scenario, a seller will often take a slightly lower price from an underwritten buyer because the guarantee of closing is just worth its weight in gold.
You also need to know exactly what compromises you're willing to make, right?
Absolutely.
Like, will you waive a cosmetic inspection? Will you offer a flexible closing date to accommodate the seller?
You have to know all of that in advance.
Because if you have to go home, sleep on it, and figure out your strategy the next morning, you will wake up to find the house is already pending.
100%. And conversely, if you are a seller in this April 2026 market, you hold the ultimate leverage.
Oh, yeah.
The numbers are heavily in your favor. But as 66 Earl Door Circle showed us, you still need a polished product and a smart, strategic initial price to ignite that buyer competition.
Right. You can't just get lazy.
Exactly. You have the upper hand, but you still have to play your cards correctly to maximize your return.
It is a delicate balance, even when the economic wind is entirely at your back.
It really is.
We are in the thick of the spring sizzle right now. The numbers are moving at an incredible pace, and everyone is trying to find their footing.
Which leaves us with the ultimate question to ponder as we move forward.
What's that?
Well, right now, the RPR median estimated property value for Marshfield in April sits at $825,930.
Okay.
That is a steady 2.9% increase over the last 12 months. The wealth in these properties is continuously growing.
Right.
But with buyers currently operating at this absolute fever pitch, throwing money over asking price in a matter of days, what happens when we hit the heat of summer?
That is the million-dollar question.
Will buyer fatigue finally set in? Will people just decide they are tired of losing bidding wars and step back from the market?
Or will Marshfield's coastal charm, the beaches, the community, keep this pressure cooker whistling all year long?
We'll have to see.
We certainly will. If you have any questions about this episode, or if you are thinking about buying or selling a house anywhere on Boston's South Shore, from Southie to Sagamore, give Jim Aldred a call. He would love to speak with you. Jim believes that people in transition often feel anxious about buying or selling a home, and he provides them with the guidance and security to help your family move on smoothly. Thanks for listening, and catch you on the next episode of the Pink Door Podcast.